But there are certainly many of you who might come to the point where you say, now that I no longer have the psychology that limits my self-expression, why should I let other people's psychology limit my self-expression? Let the barriers fall. Let me be all that I can be, as the old silly saying goes. Not in the army or the armed forces, but as an avatar on earth, as a creative being, where you say, I am willing to let my I Am Presence express whatever it wants to express through me. I'm willing to let the Ascended Masters express whatever they want to express through me, and I will not limit that expression in order to accommodate other people or their expectations. This can be family members, it can be humanity in general, where you simply say, I will demonstrate that there is a higher level of creativity that is beyond what you see of so many people in the world who are considered creative people, great organizers, or great business people, or even political leaders, where you can talk about there's a certain type of genius that people look up to because people supposedly have the ability to start businesses and run businesses or be political figures or this or that. But what you see among all of these worldly geniuses is that they are very much colored by ego and driven by ego. So as an avatar who has worked through your psychology, you can demonstrate there is a higher form of genius. There is a higher form of service which lives up to Jesus' call. He who would be greatest among you, let him be the servant of all, as opposed to he who would be greatest among you, let him be the servant of his own ego, as you see so many people in the world. They are driven to achieve something, but they are driven by their ego's desire to feel special, to feel unique, to feel better than others. And this, of course, is not the highest potential. So we very much want some people to demonstrate that there's a different way to be unique, to be creative, to bring something forth. And this is something that some of you will feel that inner prompting to contemplate what that means for you. What you might bring forth, you might contemplate. If there were no restraints, if I didn't need to restrain my creativity, what might I bring forth? What might be brought forth through me? You don't need to decide what it would be in your outer mind, but you might get some intuitive impulse that there's something you could bring forth. And then after you have brought that forth, you might see a higher level. And you might just come to a point where you feel that unrestricted flow of the river of life, or the creative expression. And therefore, you can say, all the limits are gone. I am willing to be the open door, regardless of how people see this. Now, there is, of course, and we have seen this through various organizations, both Ascended Masters and other spiritual organizations, there are people who think they are doing this because they are spiritual people, but they are still driven by ego, because you can very well have a spiritualized ego that's seeking to use a spiritual teaching. But what I'm talking about here is the resolution of psychology. It's not something, again, that you decide with the outer mind. It's not driven by an outer ambition, but it's something you can contemplate when you reach that resolution of psychology, and then just let it come to you without making a decision with the outer mind. It just comes from within. There's something to express. You might consider if there's something that you had always been dreaming about doing, but you have thought you couldn't possibly do it, or you have postponed it. I can't do it today. I can't do it this week. Maybe next month. maybe in 10 years, and all of a sudden you are looking at your birthday, how many candles on the birthday cake, and you are realizing that either you don't have room for more candles or you have to have a bigger cake. And that means that the end of the road is coming nearer. So if you are to express something, if not now, then when? So allow yourself to connect, because many of you will have had a certain sense at some point in your life, perhaps childhood, perhaps not, of something you really wanted to do, but you were told, oh, that's not realistic. I'm not talking about boys wanting to be firemen or astronauts and girls wanting to be nurses. I'm talking about something creative that you wanted to bring forth, that you had a sense that you could bring forth. But then this well-meaning so-called realism of the adults comes in and say, oh, you can't make a living as a writer, or any such concern. Well-meaning, but nevertheless not well intuited. And so you might follow that. What was your sense? Is there something there that you can bring forth now? But don't limit yourself. It could be something you have not even dared to think of with a conscious mind. And therefore it might take that contemplation where you go within, you are willing to tune in to your I Am Presence. What would your I Am Presence want to bring forth? Tune in to the masters. What would a master want to bring forth through you? Some area of society, whatever it may be. And then you say to yourself, well, what do I have to lose for the rest of this lifetime? If my life took an entirely different turn, what would I have to lose? Perhaps you have gotten a lot of the practical things out of your way. The kids are grown, you have made enough money. Perhaps it's time to do something different that you haven't even considered before. Again, we're not telling you what to do. We are just opening up your minds to the possibilities. Because if you can't see something as a possibility, how can you manifest it? And the greatest weapon that the fallen beings have is to limit your imagination so you don't dare to look for the possibilities. And then, of course, there's always the I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist attitude. Oh, this can't happen. This isn't realistic. Look where you were born. We have always been workers in our family. All of these things that you might have been exposed to, it's time to just look at them, see that you were brought up to have a certain general view of life, and just dismiss it. And say, pessimism is not realism. Optimism is realism. That's why the earth has progressed, because some people saw that the positive creative vision was actually realistic. But if you can't see it, and if you can't accept that it's possible, then you can't manifest it.